So this is the Farewell Ashoka song, and let's learn the right hand first. So the first starting note is the G with a 2. And the 4 follows, but just warning you in advance, this ending note that we're playing of that first phrase is E. So the thumb would have to move a little bit, right? The thumb is gonna have to move here on E at the end of the phrase. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and on the E and 2 and pause the video and repeat that again and again until you get to about 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. So that tap is about 50. So the song should be playing at 50, but you start always slow, then you aim for 2, 3, 1, 2, right? That's 50, and it already sounds pretty fast. So I would recommend you count carefully, learn how to read your rhythm, or you do it by ear, of course. You do it by ear, you can bypass all the counting because you know the song. Second phrase. Second phrase will start with note. What is that note? D with the number 3. So it's a new phrase because you see this curvy line on top tells you it's a new phrase. So that's why I practice each phrase over and over and over and over and over until I get that smooth and sounding like the song I have in my head. Then I get to the next one. I set up my hand. I know number 3 is on D. But what that weird low note is, that is the A with the 2-letter line. Let's practice this phrase now. Just this phrase. D with 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and the A and back to the C. So this little bit right there is important to know. You're going from the C to the A back to the C. That low note is an A. One more time, that phrase. 1 and 2 and D, E, F and 2, E, D, C, A and C and 3. So pause the video and repeat that until it's and 2 and 3. Slightly faster, right? At 50. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. Then only do you go to your third phrase. And your third phrase starts with that A. Go further down to a space note G. Line note A down to G. Space note. And then I hope everybody here in low intermediate recognize your middle C. Oh, wow. And then we skip again. But in fact, if you're looking, and this is why we're practicing technique in the chords, because if you're actually looking to the global ensemble, you will recognize your C chord inversion right here. That's a C chord inversion. G, C, E. And this is another C chord inversion. Also G, C, E. Oh, we have 2 in a row. We have one around middle C and one above middle C. And so because we have 2 in a row, we call that an arpeggio. So this is a technique. This is a difficult song. Arpeggios are what? Chords in a row that you have to use different fingering for. So we don't actually use the fingering for the chord inversion. 1, 3, 5, and another 1, 3, 5. The reason being you want to be able to pass fast. So you can't go 5 and then pass your thumb very easily. It's easier to play 2 and pass your thumb. It's a bit harder to play 3 and pass your thumb. A bit harder to play 4 and pass your thumb, because the further the finger is from your thumb, the harder it is to pass your thumb under, right? So we avoid that 5 that we normally would play for inversion, number 2 of the C chord, which is G, C, G, C, E. We're going to use this fingering for the arpeggio. G, C with the 2, release your thumb please, and 4 for the E, and then turn your hand as much as you can before you're starting to put your thumb under. So I don't keep my hand here with the fingers parallel to the keys and pass my thumb, because then impossible. And I don't move with my elbow. Notice what your elbow is doing. Your elbow should be just relaxed. You're just turning from the wrist point of view, right here. Just turning your wrist that way as much as you can, right? Each one of us is different, as much as you can. Then you're passing your thumb under and reaching for that G. And then a C again, and release your thumb once more. If you don't play your thumb, release it. And that will be the correct technique. This song is difficult to get the right technique and not hurt yourself. So one more time, the arpeggio, C major chord, but beginning on inversion number 2 is G, C, release your thumb, E, turn your hand, then the thumb goes under, G, and then C, and then E. Then only can you do the entire phrase which starts on the A. A, G, C, release your thumb, A, G, C, and the phrase continues on the second line. E and 2 and F, E, D, 2. That is the phrase. So the phrase number 3 is a long phrase that starts here on the AG. And it goes with the arpeggio all the way until you're done over here. Pause the video, do it again with me. A, G, C, release your thumb, E with a 4, push your hand, tilted your hand until you can reach for G again, C, E, and then E, second line, 2, and F, E, D, and 2, and pause the video, repeat until you get to 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2. And only then would I go to the repeat. So the repeat is the next phrase, which starts here. Ba-da-dum. Oh no, I forgot my double bar line. Sorry, so sorry. I have to upload a new version of it. There should be a double bar line and a dot dot here. Why is that? Because I already have that G, B, which is right here, the pickup note, right? So when I'm repeating, I want to repeat from only here, because I got G, B, D, E, C, right. So I'm sorry, I have to upload a new version for you. So let's say you've done that. You've done the repeat. This second time around, you're going to go here. Do the second ending. Okay? So what is that second ending? Let me scroll up a tiny bit. So basically it's G, A, B, C. But the fingering is different because remember you had the arpeggio. This is the same arpeggio we've been practicing. And then we're back to the G with the thumb. And then we're gonna step up that second ending. Then, what do we do? They repeat a lot because it's kind of a folk tune. So they repeat again. They repeat again from where? From that same dot dot here. And this third time around, they're gonna do that third ending. Okay, so I have a lot of things to fix in this score. So the third ending, what is it? Again, it's right after your arpeggios. Let's do the arpeggio and go to that third ending. Third ending is E. Wait a minute, the third ending is the same as the first ending. Yes, it is. So this ending, number 3, is exactly the same as the 1. I just had to write it out for clarity. And then the fourth and final ending, basically, it's this one. Okay, so basically you do this first line here many, many, many times. Every time you go to a different ending. The fact that you know first ending and third ending is the same saves you some time to work on it, that's all. So what is the fourth ending here in pink? Well, it is just after your arpeggio one more time from the arpeggio that you practiced earlier. The C chord. That pink ending is G chord. G, B, D, C. So that would be the first 2 lines of Ashoka, right? Always ending with the arpeggio before you go to the first ending or the second ending or the third ending or the fourth ending, basically before you continue. B section, which is not written in the score we downloaded from the internet. So again, this is more advanced intermediate song. But again, it relates to the chords inversion we've been talking about, because this is simply chord C. So let's look at those notes circled in orange. It's G, E, C. Go to the other C. That's basically what you're playing. It's a C chord. G, E, C, C. Notice I already released my thumb when I reached up. But the fingering is different. So really pay attention to the fingering that I wrote for you. For this C chord is 3, 2, 1, 5. One more time with the correct fingering now. G was the 3, E with a 2, release your finger, then C, and then stretch up to the C on top and release. Every time I play one finger, I am like a spider standing solidly on that one yoga pose, one leg. And then I stretch to the number 2 on E, and I release again. My whole body is standing on this one finger, right? And then thumb, and then the pinky. So like a spider standing solidly on one leg. And let me go to the side view for you to see. Let's say I do just an exercise with my left hand, because in my right hand, I don't know that you see. Okay, here we go. Here's my right hand, number 3 on G. So you see that my fingers are not like this. I'm relaxed. Then I stretch number 2 on E, and I relax everything. Because this is how the hand is relaxed. It's in closed position. And then I stretch the number thumb on C, and I stretch up to the pinky on on the higher C, and I bring my hand over, and I'm still in that kind of relaxed position. So that's the technique basically. We all have different bodies. You have to monitor yourself before you tackle this difficult song. Okay? So that is what the C chord is, with the correct fingering for chord to the octave, basically. So then you add this little pickup line right here. E, F, G, A, C. Next phrase now. Where's the next phrase? This one. Is 2 on G. G, A, 2, and 3, and G. So I started on G, I ended on G in that orange phrase. Then you have a phrase that has a difficult fingering, just because didn't want people to stretch too much. So I put 1, 3 here, 1, 3, this phrase. And this phrase has a lot of ledger lines, but if you look carefully and you identify the note C, middle C here, then you go, oh, I skip to the other line note. So this must be A. And once I'd identify that A, then the next space note would be the next key next door. The next line note would be just the next key next door. And this is when you're finding that guessing whether you're going to the next key or not is better than trying to identify each of these notes with ledger lines. Eventually, when you play enough songs with the ledger lines way below, you get used to it and you identify. But for the moment, you can always relate it back to the middle C. Middle C, oh, the next line note I skip. I skip a key, so that's an A. Then from that line note to the next key, space note. Then the space note to the next key, line note. Then I go back up to the next space note. So these are just steps, basically. So once you have that in your mind, oh, these are just steps. You're not worrying about, okay, what is the name of this note? These are just steps. Okay, so let's do that line now. So we start on D, and then we go straight up to E, but the E needs to be with a 3. D with a thumb, E with a 3. Then step down, then a skip down to that ledger line A, but I put my 3 on that A. Then I step down, as I said before, the pink line to tell you it's just stepping. And then there's a big gap, and I can't link it. Those of you who are more advanced, if you want to link it, you know what I do? I switch that 2 for a 1. How do we switch that? Well, you played that G with a 2, then you hold that, you switch it for the 1, so that you can legato and play up here smoothly. So this is a very extremely difficult line of phrase to do. So pause the video and repeat until you get D with a 3, down, down, crossover with A, stepping down, and then back up, switch your thumb on it if you want a legato. If you don't switch, you'll have your pedal in anyways. Then the next section is the phrase begins here and ends here. So it's an E, E, D, C, and then you can realize that's another chord, the same C chord I've been doing, C, E, G, except I have to end here on a B flat. That's a B flat I have to reach for at the end of my C chord. And I have to watch out for the finger that's written there. The finger that's written there for that C chord is 1, 2, 3, because I want to have extra finger for that B flat. Okay, so here we go, 3 on E. E, step down, and here's my C chord with 1, 2, 3, with a 4, B flat with a 4. Why is that? because the next phrase is C, A, B, C. I have to scroll up because you can't see, sorry. Okay, so let's do one more time because you couldn't see the C chord with 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna end up on that B flat with a 4, and then we'll continue let's do it blue phrase. C chord, 1, 2, 3. B flat with a 4. And notice also I bring my hand to be solidly standing on that number 4 and B flat. And then it's C, A, B natural, that's a natural sign. C, G, E. And then finally, you have another C chord. Yeah, plenty of C chords around. Then this is also C chord. And the way I wrote my fingering, this is a C chord where you have 1, 2 here, and then 1, 2, 5 here. That's the inversion of C chord. So all of these notes are basically part of your C chord. The third phrase here is simply just C chord. C with 2, thumb with G, back to C with 2, pass your thumb under the 2, and again I turn my hand so that my thumb would then get to E, part of my C chord. G is part of my C chord. C is part of my C chord. So with the rhythm, 1 and 2 and 3. C, G, and C, and E with a thumb, and G, and C, and. And again, the last phrase begins on an E, which is also my C chord. This is why technique is important. A lot of the song you know is basically chords. That all of that are notes in your C chord. Okay, so practice, stop the video and practice until 1 and 2 and 3. C, G, and C, and E, and G, and C, and E, and those are all keys of C chord. And then finally you are crossing over your 3 on E. Once on D, sorry, D. And once you're there, you're just reading stepping, stepping, stepping. Space note, line note, middle C, space note, stepping, 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 and stepping back up. These are just steps, down and back up. So from that E, you cross your 3 over to that D that I circle in dark green, and step, and step, and. So if I do the orange along with the phrase, starting with the dark green, it's pass your thumb under, and G, and C, and E, cross your 3 over to D, the green note, and you just step down until you get back to C. Then of course, DC al fine, that means you're going back to, right? But that's how you would learn the right hand alone. Lots of C chord, right, in this song.